A few semesters ago, I was headed to my American Heritage class when I was startled to see a young woman walking towards me down the hall wearing a long, flowing cloak and a hood. My first reaction was to gawk, and then to feel a little embarrassed for her. She was unaffected and continued on down the hallway towards her class or wherever she was headed. Since that time, I've wondered exactly why it was that I felt that way, especially considering that I love fantasy literature, I own a sword collection, and I love medieval culture. Using Charles Dickens, the Book of Mormon, J.R.R. Tolkien, the Quill and the Sword website, and Box Office Mojo, I will show why it is that we have a negative reaction to people wearing a cloak on BYU campus or hitting each other with fake swords, and why it is that we should be more appreciative and accepting of these people. Judging from your reactions, I can tell I'm not the only one to have had an experience with someone wearing a cloak or hitting each other with a fake sword. And being the lover of fantasy literature that I am, I often have conversations about this topic. And I get sarcastic comments like, hey, why don't you join the medieval club? Or, hey, look, there's Frodo. Or, I even once had someone say to me that it would be social suicide to be caught fighting with a foam sword on campus. It's pretty extreme, social suicide. But in the words of the immortal Charles Dickens, who said, "Far be it from me to assert that what everyone says must be true. Everyone is often as likely to be wrong as right." It worries me to think that we are judging these people based on their appearance, specifically their manner of dress. The proud Zoramites in the Book of Mormon also judged the humble poor in their society and cast them out because of the coarseness of their apparel. We must be careful not to imitate the Zoramites' pride by mentally casting out our differently dressed peers. We need to rein in our pride and look at these people through eyes more befitting followers of Christ. J.R.R. Tolkien, in an interview, once said, "The hobbits are just rustic English people, made small in size because it reflects the generally small reach of their imaginations." We should be grateful that there are those among us with broader imaginations than our own and the courage to act upon those imaginations. But our friends are not just being creative. They're trying to do what every other student on campus is trying to do, and that's to learn something. According to BYU Medieval Club's website, which is the Quill and the Sword homepage, they have a quote that says, "Let us learn together the ways of the ancients by study, thought, and action." So in reality, they're trying to learn what they can about the past by experiencing it to the best of their ability now. And in reality, they aren't that unusual in their interests. According to Box Office Mojo, the #2 all-time, worldwide highest-grossing film of all time is The Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King. And also in that top 15 of this list are The Fellowship of the Ring and The Two Towers, and some Harry Potter movies. So to me, at least, this shows a clear interest in our world culture in the medieval ages. People were willing to watch over 9 hours of film where people wore cloaks and hit each other, pretended to hit each other with swords. It's my belief that we all have an interest in these things, but we just don't act on it in the same way that our friends in the medieval club do. So what are the takeaways from this? One, it's not good to judge people based on their appearance, and such judgments are derived from pride. We also need to remember that we should be grateful and accepting for these people that are courageous enough to act on their imaginations and to learn something. So the next time that we are headed to class or somewhere on campus and we see someone in a cloak or we see someone hitting each other with a fake sword, we need to remember that these people are worthy of our acceptance and our appreciation and that they are just trying to learn something. So remember, inside, every woman is a fairy princess. And underneath the surface, every man is a knight in shining armor.